Good morning and welcome to our weekly live Q&A from Tustin Longevity Center. My name is Talon Ellthorpe and I'm the practice manager, and I'm joined with Dr. Rita Ellthorpe, our founder and medical director. Thanks so much for joining us and for tuning in. We have a lot of information to cover, and I'm sure we have a lot of questions today. There's a lot of information and unfortunately misinformation in the news about COVID-19, the coronavirus, and what steps we can and should be doing to prepare and to protect ourselves and our loved ones. This is live, it is a Q&A, and we hope for and look for your participation. There should be a chat feature in the, I believe, right of your screen. If you're logged into YouTube, please post any questions that you have there. We will be monitoring for those, screening those, and answering those questions live. And we've got some updates for you today. So, Dr. E.
Yes, well, welcome. And I thought it would be interesting to look at the most recent publications on patients who've recovered from the COVID virus. Again, it is still considered low risk for us here. Although I believe there was a memo put out by the Orange County Public Health, still recommending strongly that you keep all of your personal family activities into your private environment, not socialize and not assemble in groups of more than 10. And I think we're all doing that. So I wanted to bring up this article from 2 days ago. Today's the 18th of March 2020. This was published March 16th. And this is by physicians who have been treating recovered COVID-19 patients. This is in Nature Medicine 2020, March 16th. The author are a group of physicians, but the principal investigator is Irani, is the first name, I-R-A-N-I, and the last name is Thevagarjan, T as in Tom, H-E-V-A-R-A-J-A-N, and others et al. And the title of their article, published in what is the name of the Nature Medicine, is The Breadth of Containment Immune Responses Prior to Patient Recovery, a Case Report of Non-Severe COVID-19. So what they're trying to do here is they're trying to look at how this woman, who was a 47-year-old woman who was in Wuhan, China, and flew back to Australia 11 days after her departure. She had symptoms, about 4 days worth of some symptoms of scratchy throat, a dry cough, and then a low-grade temperature of 101.3, and presented to the physicians. They did the nasal and swabs and sputum and found, and stool, that she had been secreting the COVID-19 SARS virus, SARS-2, and they admitted her. She did not require oxygen or ventilation. She never progressed to acute respiratory distress. But what they did do is they started looking at how she and her body, her immune system, was responding to this viral invasion. And so she did not experience the complications of acute respiratory distress syndrome and did not require supplemental oxygen. She was discharged within 1 week of hospitalization, consistent with a non-severe but symptomatic disease. And here they've provided evidence on the recruitment of immune cell populations in watching her blood work of antibody secreting cells, the T cells, which are a part of your immune system, activated CD4 and CD8 T cells. And if you remember with AIDS, there's a tremendous drop in the CD4 population that puts them at such an immune compromised state of being. So the AIDS virus, HIV virus, is a type of coronavirus. So they were watching her CD4 count, her CD8 T cells, together with immunoglobulin production, IgM, and the IgG SARS-CoV-2 binding antibodies. So what you're learning here is your immunoglobulins IgM, IgG, actually have and been proven to have a role in binding viral illnesses, okay? This is even noticed in the secretions of your sinuses, your respiratory secretions, your gut secretions, and urine secretions. They didn't find it in her urine. And then they found in following this patient's blood this nice rise in her immunoglobulin production and the count of her CD4 and CD8s. And so I looked at this and they concluded, furthermore, our study indicates that a robust multifactorial immune responses, and I want to point out multifactorial immune responses can be elicited to the newly emerged virus SARS-CoV-2 and similar to the avian H7N9 disease, early adaptive immune responses might correlate better with clinical outcomes. And this is a lot of research and talk about our immune system. What I'd like to point out is in a second article.
Should we can we sum that up, and then I'd like to just talk about a couple things that our office is doing and doing to prepare before we get a little bit deeper into the research.
So to sum that article up, it's pointing out serum immunoglobulins, IgM, the initial one, serum IgG, antibodies are part and parcel of binding these viral particles. Mm-hmm. They're very important. And watching their CD8, CD4 T cell responses. So what I want to point out on this is that using immunoglobulins as a oral treatment, much like a mother breastfeeds her newborn baby, a mother's colostrum is really another description of immunoglobulin food. You're just taking a bunch of antibodies from your mother. And so we have another article on that published, this was in 2010, the effects of bovine immunoglobulins on immune function, allergy, and upper respiratory infections. This is put out by Lauren H. Ulfman, Ulfman, and this is published in Frontiers of Nutrition. This article points out how important in that patient, for instance, the immunoglobulins that she was producing to help bind the COVID virus just through a antibody immune response. And the summary here was the bovine immunoglobulin G has a number of similar effects binding to human relevant pathogens, and that's including viral illnesses, effects on phagocytosis mediated through receptors for human immunoglobulin, and prevention of infection in human studies. So functionally, bovine immunoglobulin does have effects on the human immune system beyond just binding to potential pathogens. So I just want to let you know there's a boatload of research on immunoglobulins and their benefit studied through how we protect children, babies who are nursed for about 6 months have less ear infections and less upper respiratory infections. And so we are driven here at TLC to look for natural ways to support our patients' immunoglobulins. And those immunoglobulins are available in well-researched nutraceuticals that we'll bring up later. Right. So this is evidence that there's a huge immunoglobulin response in CD4, CD8. There is a link between the CD4 count and viral illnesses of coronavirus. An example is the HIV infection. And there's a lot of research on immunoglobulins helping with upper respiratory infections as well as the gut infections from pathogens.
Right.
So
I'd remind patients that upwards of 80% of our immune system lines our GI tract, right?
Right.
So that is the part of our body that is exposed to things often first, and we want to do everything we can to support our GI system in that lining.
And so we use SBI Protect in either a capsule or a powdered form. This is a well-researched, clinically tried here at Tustin Longevity to enhance the immune response and protection So you're protecting your immune system from all situations, whether it be an upper respiratory infection or any other infection. But these immunoglobulins have been well clinically studied. It's also in a capsule form if you don't like taking it as a powder. I tend to use it mostly for things like irritable bowel, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, all forms of gut repair. But the data is rich on it protecting us from upper respiratory infections. And with this woman who did quite well, it just showed those immunoglobulins are very important in maintaining a healthy immune system.
Right. Well, and if we just pause there for a second, I just want to mention a couple things about our office and this live Q&A and things that we're doing to prepare. First, I just want to thank and recognize our team that is continuing to show up day by day to take care of our patients and respond to this.
Yes.
Thank you to our patients who are being patient with us. As I'm sure you can imagine, our phones, our emails are getting flooded with a lot of calls, but we are 100% committed to being here to care for our patients. We have no plans to have any changes in operations immediately, and we are taking every precaution, every step possible to maintain and take care of our staff as well as our patients. So we have upped our cleaning efforts, our disinfecting efforts. We have air filters with ultraviolet light running around the clock, and we're encouraging our staff to take care of themselves, to put their gas mask on first and take care of their body. I want to mention too, and I also certainly want to thank not just our staff here, but we have some amazing support staff. One of the articles we mentioned today was brought to us by one of our representatives from Orthomolecular Products, who's just been hugely supportive with us, giving us up-to-date information. So we just have a huge team behind us here. Now, there's a lot happening, as I'm sure you all are aware. Day by day, even hour by hour, things are changing, and we're committed to staying on top of the facts and keeping our patients informed and keeping our staff informed. So as of right now, it sounds like restrictions are being removed for telehealth visits, which traditionally have not been billable to insurance unless you're special circumstances in a rural area. So for now, we are encouraging our patients to continue to, well, of course, like if you are symptomatic, if you have a cough, a cold, certainly fever with a temperature, call first before you go in anywhere so that we can make a decision on the phone for you what the best way to handle your case is. For all of our other patients, we are absolutely encouraging them to continue to come in. We would prefer to see you face to face, in person, and continue to support you through this time and your medical needs as things develop. However, if you are feeling ill or you are concerned about leaving your home, then we are offering telehealth, and we are upping our efforts right now to do telehealth visits with our patients, and we're going to bill insurance for those. And we will just sort of have to wait and see how each insurance company responds to it. But we're also making commitments to cut our prices as to what is placed towards patient responsibility. So that's sort of news for us. We are going to be billing insurance for those visits moving forward if you do not feel well enough to come into the office. But we would encourage you to come in and get an IV, come in and pick up some of these immune supportive products. Our supplement store is open, our office is open in the meantime. There have been changes, and I'm sure you can imagine, with medical supply chain management. We've been ahead of the curve on this. We've been reporting on COVID-19
since late January.
Since late January, trying to keep you up to date and our staff up to date. As we've been gearing up with our supplies, we see no immediate effect to our IV supplies or our supplement supplies. However, I do want to say that there have been a few things that we're seeing back orders on. Thankfully, we have stocked up on much of these supplies, so there haven't been any major changes. I know for a fact that Vitality C, the vitamin C powder, is sparse. It's been in or out. We've been getting a few shipments here, a few shipments there. We do have backups and then backups in place for that right now. So Orthomolecular is going to be supplying us with another powdered vitamin C as well as a vitamin C capsule. The silver hydrosol, not to be confused with colloidal silver, has been sparse and running low. Other than that, we are out of the systemic enzyme. What's that called?
Vascuzyme.
Vascuzyme. We do have backups in place for that as well too until we can get that resupplied. Vitalzyme is an excellent choice. We're also getting in the Vitalzyme lower strength as a backup choice to that as well
And
too.
what about Proteazyme?
And we do have some Proteazyme as well too. So I know that's a lot of information, but I just want our patients to know that we're looking at this hour by hour, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're keeping the IVs going and that we're keeping the supplements in stock. Come in and see us or call us if you have any questions. And I do want to say before we move on too, that during this time of anxiety and concern, stress plays a huge role on our immune system as well, right? So I am counting my blessings, saying my prayers, and just using this time to reflect and calm my family down and say that this is still low risk. Let's look at what we can be thankful for, and just try to keep everybody's anxiety and fears down. But certainly be aware and be conservative, but not to panic or to worry too much.
And speaking of the family, we do have the super newts for the children.
Yes, we do.
And the droppers of the liquid vitamin D as well with K in them.
That's right.
I want to make a shout out to the simplicity of using just a couple items like MitoCore or TLC Energy Core. These multi-nutrients are clinically researched, and they have basically everything you need for a healthy immune and detoxification system. We had mentioned the importance of zinc. It's always been in there for my patients, so we've long looked for that. It's got plenty of selenium. Selenium also can be lifted up as a antiviral type protection. It's in there. The immune enhancers, ECGC is in the MitoCore, also researched in antiviral effects. So these are designed for a day such as this, whether it's MitoCore or TLC Energy Core. These are both very, very good multivitamins as a simple single thing to do. The other thing I would mention is the vitamin D to enhance your immune system response and build up your T cells. You know, there are receptors on every cell of the human body for vitamin D. So just to let you know how important that is. So we're talking a multi-vitamin D. And I will still always lift up the antioxidant and volume of research on the Juice Plus series, especially on their upper respiratory. There are about 7 research studies on its immune enhancing in preventing upper respiratory syndromes and illnesses in the stressed person. One of the groups that they did a study on was law students taking their bar exams and finals, and the response on those who were using that fared very, very well compared to the ones who were controlled and did not get it. They had the placebo. So we have a couple, 2 or 3 things that are just fantastic. I do have one article I wanted to mention about silver. We did contact our supplier for Argentin silver, and they are now going to be shifting all their production to consumer available resources. The name of that product is Sovereign Silver. So if you go into your health food store, you can find over-the-counter Sovereign Silver, which I prefer because of the research showing it's got a tinier dispersion of silver. It's called nanoparticulate as opposed to colloidal. And nanoparticulate silver, I have a research article here from the Journal of Nanobiotechnology of 2010, August 1st. And the principal investigator is Umberto H. Laura. So I think the last name is Umberto, Humberto. First name is Laura. And the background on this was silver nanoparticles have proven to exert antiviral activity against HIV-1 at non-cytotoxic concentrations. So again, there's that coronavirus on HIV studies. Remember, our current COVID-19 is only about 12 weeks old. It's a brand new thing. It is changing, as it mutates, but this is a brand new one. So we have to use research on sister family viruses, and HIV is one of them. And the results of this research show our data suggests that silver nanoparticles exert anti-HIV activity at an early stage of viral replication. So I just want to point out there's a lot of science behind some natural things that you all can do at home.
Right. And keep in mind too, as the entire healthcare system is being overwhelmed right now, and it could get worse. But I want to mention that when one thing becomes available, we have so many tools in our toolbox,
Yes.
so many resources available.
Yes.
I am seeing some questions about the silver. How do I get it? What's the name of it? How do you spell it? So in our office here, we have the available only to healthcare
Clinicians,
providers.
yeah.
Argentin 23, that's ARGENTYN, I believe.
Yes.
And that we do expect that will run out soon. So we're going to turn patients towards Sovereign Silver. You might not be able to order it online very soon, but you can find it in the stores. But that is just one tool.
Right.
And there are so many things that you can do, and so many other supplements that you can take. We mentioned this last week and the week prior. Staying healthy, drinking plenty of water. Stay away from carbohydrates and sugar. That is so important.
So
it depresses your immune
immune-suppressing.
system. So
Yeah.
just drinking enough water and eating healthy is going to be a huge benefit for you.
And washing your hands
Yes.
and using your Kleenex, cough
Right.
into your arm, social distancing.
Right. And we're going to continue to keep our patients updated here week by week, but to stay on top, if things change even more quickly, follow us on Facebook. We'll post resources there. Hopefully you're signed up for our newsletter. Go to tlcdoctors.com and subscribe. We'll send information out there. Perhaps we'll jump up here even sooner if there's pressing information. But for now, there has been a lot of concern and anxiety and talk of lockdown and stay at home and social distancing. Really, we're observing those things, and we're recommending that patients observe those things. No
Absolutely.
unnecessarily travel, avoid large gatherings, wash your hands, all of that good information, and we'll keep you abreast of everything else. We do have a few questions here that I would love to give to. Elisa is asking, what do you think of PEMF mats to boost the immune system and detox? That's pulse electromagnetic frequency mats.
I think they enhance microcirculation. That's been well studied. And anytime you improve your circulation and the tiny, tiny little capillaries, you're going to be able to deliver nutrients, immune cells to the sites of any infection or breach of cell membranes or a breach in the integrity of a capsule, whatever. So I'm all in favor of it.
We do have PEMF.
And we have those here, yeah.
In our IV suite. So if you come and get an IV, you can sit on the PEMF mat, and that will help exercise the cell in a way and
yes.
increase the...
You know what's kind of interesting, and this bears research. I've known about this since 1986. There was a book written about heat killing viruses. And so even sitting in a sauna where you're breathing in 130 degrees of the dry air or the moist air has been known, and in Scandinavia, this is one of the things that they do to boost their immune system and improve their microcirculation. One of the funny things I saw by the author of that book, he was on Facebook, and he said if you can't get into a sauna, just take a hairdryer and then put it on low, and you can have a little water spray mist bottle and spray some water and just breathe in that warmed air from the hairdryer, and do that for 5 minutes, and do it twice a day if you have no symptoms. If you have any symptoms of allergies or upper respiratory illnesses, you could do that 5 times a day. Okay. And so I thought there are just so many things are wonderful. We are fearfully and wonderfully made.
We are, aren't we?
And there's so many things we can do.
Yes.
We would ask you, don't congregate now. Don't do these parties and stuff like this. Try and follow the 2 weeks or so where we're trying to stay socially distanced.
Right. I know a lot of you are hoping to come to my baby shower. It's been canceled, unfortunately, so we're all making sacrifices at this time. We also have a beamer mat, which is very similar but different from PEMF. You can come sit on that. That really helps improve the capillary distribution of perfusion, blood flow. So I hope that answers your question, Elisa. We actually got a question in earlier on email. Is it true that those who have had a flu shot are more susceptible to the coronavirus?
There is no evidence that I'm aware of that would suggest those who've had a flu shot are more susceptible to the coronavirus. And I would squash that kind of information, because fear is anxiety. Anxiety is immunosuppressive. No, I would let that kind of sit on the back burner. We do know that last year's flu vaccine was only about 47% effective. We're all aware of the limitations of what a vaccine can do.
Yes.
But as to it putting you at higher risk for this new coronavirus, I would quelch that right away and say, no, there's no credible evidence to say that's true.
And the flu has a lot of symptoms that are similar to the coronavirus, and you are we're seeing many patients. The standard of care is that they are first tested for the flu and ruling out the flu before it's the coronavirus. And that's part of the reason why your healthcare delivery system, be it a hospital or urgent care, doesn't want you just walking in unannounced to call and check first, because if it's the flu, we're going to take flu precautions. If it's possible coronavirus, we're going to take different precautions for that.
And again, most of us are going to do just fine. 80% of us are just going to be well and not a risk even if we were to contract the virus. And it's only the very elderly and comorbid diseases, and those are the ones you want to protect, even if you're feeling well.
Right, exactly. I'm just looking for the next question here. Thank you guys for your thanks. We really appreciate that. This is definitely unscripted, and we're just trying to keep you informed as best we can. This is not very polished. Do you suggest taking the SBI powder? By the way, it's also available by capsule daily for prevention. That would be our SBI Protect powder.
Or the capsules, yeah. Yes, those are immunoglobulins, just like really mother's colostrum. And so they are enhancing the ability to latch on to pathogens of all kinds of varieties.
Right.
And if you want your immune system to be tip-top and to be ready in case you got a virus, be it the common flu or the coronavirus, it's very wise to do all that you can, but we're not saying you have to use something. We're just talking about the research and the wonderful variety of things that are out there. Certainly I don't do all of those, and I am not personally taking this at this time. I'm satisfied with using my TLC Energy Core, my vitamin D, and my extra vitamin C that I'm taking as the powdered form. When that runs out, I'll use either the capsules or the other powdered vitamin C.
And we don't carry anything here in our dispensary, in our wellness store, lightly. Everything that our doctors recommend has been carefully considered, researched, many times included in published research or third-party testing. So we're just mentioning several different things as a broad approach, as a buffet or menu, if you will, of things that you can do.
Right.
The basics we've reiterated over and over again, and I'm letting you know that we are increasing on our orders and inventory here in supplies in case we run out. I mean, what happens if we run out of SBI Protect? Well, then we have something else that's wonderful, that's proven and tested, that we can move you to.
Right.
Okay. I'm looking for a next question here. Thanks, guys, for your thanks. New patient. Okay, so new patient since January. Problem is severe heartburn pain. Stopped all supplements about 30 hours ago, and heartburn is no longer an issue. Why and what to do?
Well, as a new patient, your general health can in fact be challenged as we detox you quickly, and that's why we want follow-up. You should have had a follow-up or two. And sometimes we cut back on things because there's so much going on. It could be that your body is revved up because it's so happy with other healthy things you're starting to do now. Your body is making more digestive juices and enzymes. That's another thing we can do to cut back. It could be that it was just a dietary shift and a preventative nutrient we had suggested may not be needed at all. So that's what follow-up is all about. And I'm glad that you're certainly doing better, and that's the direction we want you to go. We only use nutrients because, number one, the food system is so adulterated with processed foods and high sugars that are harmful on so many levels to the human body and our immune system. But our goal is not to be on a lot of nutrients. Our goal is to live a healthy lifestyle and use nutrients very selectively. However, I would say probably the core base would be, given our current situation, the TLC Energy Core or Mita Core. They're very similar multis. The vitamin D and the Juice Plus is still my trio, you might say, of what I take all the time.
Okay. There's one other thing I wanted to mention that I almost forgot for our patients, and that is if you do have an appointment here upcoming, many of you have seen if we have an email address on file for you, we send you a pre-visit check-in. Then that's an opportunity to get your paperwork filled out digitally before you come into the office. And we are ever more so right now encouraging that you look out for that email. If we don't have your email on file, please call us. We don't sell your email address or anything like that. But that'll allow us to save you some time, in the waiting room. It'll also allow us to avoid, extra paper, touching, pens. So look for that pre-visit check-in. The services company called Frisia, and that'll allow you to fill out your follow-up log, sign any kind of legal forms, even take care of your co-payment, all from the comfort of your home or your smartphone, and we can just avoid unnecessary touching and time in the waiting room here. Not that we're overly concerned about the waiting room, we're keeping our rooms
and we have the air purifiers going all the time.
And we're wiping surfaces down several times
Even
throughout
more.
the day. But we'll continue to keep you informed as the situation develops. To stay informed, again, I just recommend that you are on our email newsletter, as well as follow our Facebook page, because that's something we can quickly put out a message if we're going to do another unscheduled live Q&A or something similar. Mm-hmm. Doctor, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up here? I'm just checking. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. Hopefully we're able to answer everybody's questions. If we missed it, please send an email into the office at tlcdoctors.com, and we will do our best to answer that question on the next live Q&A if we can't answer that right away on email. Mm-hmm. And again, I just want to reiterate that risk is still considered low. Yes, I am doing more and going above as we are as an office to protect the health of our employees and our patients here. And I do, again, just so thank our staff, who is wonderful, showing up to take care of patients, and we do respect their health as well too, and we're looking for ways to support them remotely as needed. IV department continuing to stay open. We're doing everything that we can to stay in stock and up to date on that, so we can continue to provide
and we're
immune
open
care.
Saturdays.
We are open Saturdays. There might be some slight changes to the types of IVs that we ordered, because there is an allocation and shortage on IV bags. However, everything that goes in the IV bags, we have plenty of stock on. The wellness store is well stocked up on all of our nutrients there, and our doctors do look forward to seeing you, hopefully face-to-face in person. If not, telehealth visits are available, and we'll explain more to those to you on a case-by-case basis if needed, if you don't feel well enough to come in for a visit.
Okay.
All right, we're here every Wednesday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. We'll certainly be back here next Wednesday, come rain, shine, or coronavirus, and we look forward to seeing you then. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for your time.